We've looked at the early phase of the covenant with Israel, and now we go on to the prophetic, priestly, and royal aspects that have become important in Christian teaching. Thus, we are going to ask, where do the prophets fit in? Amos, Isaiah, Jeremiah. In popular lingo, prophets are foretellers. They look into the future and say, what's coming? Biblical prophets are foretellers too, and also forthtellers. And we have to keep both of these things in mind.
Can you tell us what are some of the promises that the prophets make?
The prophets are foretellers in a very different sense than the popular magazines speak about them. They're foretellers in the sense that they cast on the very screen of the future a vision of the purposes of God. Here you have with utter clarity what God originally intended. For example, in the prophet Isaiah, you have a vision of what came to be called among Jewish people as well as among Christians, shalom. Shalom is life together, righteousness, the coming together of truth, faith, justice, peace with God, with human nature, with the whole world and all of its rich dimensions. The biblical prophecy has more to do with envisioning than with predicting. Indeed, in retrospect, looking back as Christians, we believe that the Old Testament prophets anticipated what was coming. In Jesus Christ, we have shalom, peace made flesh among us. He is our shalom. He is our peace. The prophecy is, in the sense of foretelling, also the promise of good things yet to come, that shalom will ultimately be for the whole world. Prophets are also forthtellers. They speak boldly the truth. The prophet delivers a forthright word from God. Indeed, it often has to do with the fact that we've forgotten the vision, we've forgotten the purpose of God. Here, says the prophet, you've received this gift, you've received this vision, you've made this promise, now do it. Do what you've promised. So there is an edge, a demand, a claim, and a judgment made by prophets.
If we are merely being reminded of something we already know, why then are we intimidated by the prophet's visions?
Both the foretelling and the forthtelling of prophets can be very intimidating. Prophets can be real nuisances. We have other plans for the future than the prophets promised that shalom will be, and we don't like to hear that these visions are mandates for us. That we have to do life together and be life together with God and one another. That we're commanded to love and serve and embody the visions of the prophets. A vision of things to come and things to do. No, thank you. We stone prophets. Human nature is set against the divine purposes and continues to be so. A world where swords are beaten into plowshares and spears into pruning hooks, as Isaiah said. A world in which we sit under our vine and fig trees quietly, Isaiah. A world in which even the wolf and the lamb will lie down together and the child put its hands over the snake's hole, another vision of Isaiah. To practice what is preached here is very intimidating, very demanding, very embarrassing for us. We don't want to beat our swords into plowshares. We don't want to let each person sit quietly under their vine and fig tree. The wolf and the lamb don't lie down together, and the child putting its hand over the snake's hole in an environmental accord between human nature and nature, that's not our way. Our tendency is to put first the I, me, and minds of our own life. So the prophets pour the hot coals of love upon us all as St. Paul puts it somewhat later in his own words.